Okay, so for today's lesson, we're talking about building tension. Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna again do some spoiling of Infinity Wars, which you guys should have watched by now. I actually haven't watched it, but I've just been like following the memes and stuff. So this is Thanos. Okay, what happens next? Right? Do you guys remember? He gets the Power Stone, then he gets the Space Stone, the Reality Stone, Soul, Time, Mind, and then after that he takes his Power Glove with all the gems, and then he snaps. So what happens when he snaps? Do you guys remember? Bad things. Okay, what kind of bad things? Half the world's population disappear. Okay, so basically like people just start crumbling to dust, right? When we were looking at this scene, half the universe, yes, that's true. When we're looking at this scene, right, do you feel bad for the soldiers? Like, do you feel like, oh man, I'm so sad that Thanos won and like half the universe is dead? Okay, some of the characters you have investment. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, like if you're looking on the macro level, right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you care about half the universe disappearing? 3 to 4, not much. 4. Okay. For those who didn't watch, it's okay, don't worry, don't stress. I didn't watch it either. Okay, we see a lot of 3 to 4. Okay. Alright. On a scale of 1 to 10, how many of you, like, how much do you feel when, like, Spider-Man was in, like Iron Man's arms? It's just like, oh man, I don't feel so good. Like, I don't want to die. Like, I'm scared. 7 to 8. Okay, I see another one with an 8 out of 10. Really sure most people are crying at this. Okay, why? What's going on? Okay, the thing is, like, I think we're kind of desensitized, right? Like, we're telling, oh, okay, yeah, here's the world, everyone's gonna die if like our superheroes don't do it, and then we're like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. They'll probably like Superman will probably save, the world, right? They can't just like like the script writers can't just say Superman will just let the world die, right? But so how do you make the audience actually feel scared for something like for something that could possibly happen, right? And so people will take like what you guys say, right? There's like the personal connection, right? 10,000 people die, but like it's just a statistic, right? One person die, oh man, right? It actually hurts because again, right, there's actual stakes, right? So that's why you see that it's a recurring theme, right? Oh, I'm gonna flatten the city, we don't care, right? Oh, but like like in for instance in Batman, he had the choice between like saving, what is it, Batman Returns, I don't even remember. Like he had a choice between saving the city and saving Robin or saving his girlfriend. Yeah, something like that, right? See, sometimes like they give a choice between saving the city or saving the loved one, and then you're just like, oh no, whatever shall we do, right? Like, why? Because we need to create like this magical thing called tension. Yeah, okay. Oop, I forgot to show that text. Anyway, yeah, but basically tension, right? What is tension? It's the element in the story that evokes emotions such as worry, anxiety, fear, and stress on the reader. It's like, oh no, that's a negative emotion. Why do you want to make the reader feel tension? Right? Okay, come. Like audience participation. What do you guys think we should give people like tension? Okay. So someone says make your readers care. Give them a reason to keep reading. Emotional investment in the story. Yeah. Okay, yeah, you guys pretty much got it, right? Tension engages the reader. It makes them go just one more page, right? Gotta make it a page turner, get them invested, right? But tension isn't just like one fixed there's like different kinds of tension, right? And so we're gonna look at I kind of broke it down into four. It's not exhaustive and it's probably not like a perfect way to split because there will be a lot of overlaps in between. But we can look at them on like four different things. So scene level, plot level, character level, and on the narrative. Okay, so we'll go into each of them, right? So scene level basically refers to like within a scene, right? What kind of tension is there, right? So that's usually what you see on within like so let's say there's an action scene, they're gonna fight, they're gonna escape, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, it might not matter, right? Or maybe it does, but within the scene itself, right, as a standalone scene, right, there could be a lot of tension, right? Like example, there's a chase scene, right? Whether or not they get caught could determine like the rest of the story. And so now within the scene, you're invested, right? Or it could be those scenes where like, oh man, like the bomb's gonna blow and it's gonna take down the whole building. Will they be able to to defuse the bomb in time, right? Conflict. So like for instance, last week we looked at a couple fighting in a restaurant, right? That's conflict, right? And that creates tension because you're just like, how is this conversation gonna go, right? How is this interaction gonna go? Are they gonna break up from there, right? Are they gonna be friends after that? Yeah. So these are kind of like tension in how do I put it? Yeah, like within a scene, the scope is within the scene, um, and then like missing information as well. So you usually see this more in like mystery, right? Mystery and horror. So for instance, in mystery, like oh, we don't know who's the murderer, right? And so now you're just like, who could have done it, right? And then everyone's looking at each other. You could be the murderer. Like I don't want to be in a room with you, right? Horror also, like the thing, right? You don't know which of the people around you is actually an alien in disguise, like pretending to be one of you, right? Or you are walking through a forest and you hear something rustle in the trees, and you're just like, it's not just a cat, is it? Right? So there's kind of like ways that you can create tension. Um, yeah. Oh no. Okay, I did have slides for each of them, but yes, action is basically like whatever you see, chase scene, high stakes, someone could fall off a building, taking time bomb. Okay. Oop. Yeah, and missing information. Um. Yeah. So ticking time bomb is interesting. It doesn't have to be a literal bomb. It could also be like how do I put it? Something that is time limited. Example, right? If someone has prom that is coming up in 3 days time, and suddenly you need to find a prom date partner because like someone had a bet with the friends like, oh yeah, like I already have a partner. They're like, oh yeah, you sure she exists? Like yeah, you will see her on prom night. It's like, okay, sure, we'll see. And then it's just like, shit, now I have 3 days to find a prom partner, right? It could be a project that's supposed to be due, right? In Zootopia, it's about you need to find who who you need to like Judy Hopps needs to investigate the mystery. If not, she gets fired and loses her police badge, right? And then she just goes home, right? And so those are kind of like ticking time bombs as well. Like anything that's limited time that counts, right? Like a deadline, yeah, basically. Boo, deadline, scary. Nightmare of students and adults alike. Okay, any questions so far? Any questions about tension? Like, okay. No, let's move on. Okay. So we also have plot level tension. So this is tension like on like on the more throughout the story, right? So it's like, for instance, in an action scene, the tension goes up, right? But then once the chase scene is over, they either escape or they get caught, right? And then sure, even though they get caught, right, it's not a good thing. At least the chase is over. Like the tension actually goes down, right? Makes sense? So that's within a scene, right? But within the plot, you can have an overarching building of tension, right? You can also, again, you can have a ticking time bomb, right? You have like, oh, okay, we need to go and defeat the evil villain, right? And so you start the story with that tension, and then you can count down the days, right, to when the villain's gonna strike, or throughout the story, like, it'll cut to the villain in his lair, and he's just like, ah ha ha, I got the next part of the plan in place. Like they won't know what hit them, and then you go back to the heroes and they're doing more stuff, right? That's another form of, like, you know escalating the tension, right? It's not within a scene itself, right? The main characters themselves, they don't know like what the villain is doing, right? But as the viewer, you know what's gonna happen if they don't make it in time, and so you feel the tension, right? Again, there's conflict. You can take conflict and you put it throughout, right? Like, for instance, in, say, romance, in fact, yeah, sometimes, like, here's a misconception, right? Sometimes people are just like, oh, tension, it has to be drama, it has to be like action, it has to be like murder mystery. That's not true. Like, sometimes slice of life can be like can have tension as well, right? Even like someone having a fight with the teacher, and then the teacher threatens to expel, right? That can be tension also. Tension, it can be romantic tension where, like, two people are in love, and then like some guy comes along and flirts with one of them. It's like, oh, and then the other person's just like tempted to cheat, and you're just like, don't cheat, don't cheat on your partner. That's terrible. That's bad. The other person's gonna find out for sure. Please don't do that. Is it even just like that kind of thing? That's tension, right? So you can have all these kind of things. So conflict, internal, external relationships. Okay. I think I keep mentioning this. I didn't explain. Internal means, so external is what we usually see, right? Two people fighting, or like two groups fighting. So that's kind of external, right? Internal tension is like conflict within yourself, right? It could be, I have a dilemma, right? I need to resolve it, right? Do I stick to my moral values, right? Or do I, ignore it for personal gain, right? Someone tries to bribe you, and you're just like, I could take this. I really need the money right now, right? And but like, oh, what if my boss finds out, and then this not right to do. Like, oh, but this could pay for my son's education. It could like buy medication for my daughter. Oh man. See, so this is kind of like internal conflict, right? Just seeing that person struggle with the dilemma can be quite intense, right? Like relationship. One example of like this kind of internal, um okay, maybe it's not super internal, right? But like, do you guys watch the Joker movie? Oh boy, there was so much tension. Like, I felt so uncomfortable throughout, right? It's not like he's explicitly fighting with people. It's not like he's explicitly like arguing. There is no ticking time bomb, right? But you just see the spiral down, and I'm just like, I was so uncomfortable throughout the entire movie. And that was like, oh, they did such a good job at making me feel so uncomfortable. Did anyone else feel that way while watching it? Who felt uncomfortable? Okay, don't worry, I'm not spoiling anything. I hope. No spoilers, alright? But who here felt uncomfortable? It's a cool film, Coen Brothers, called A Serious Man, where a character gets a bride at the beginning, spends the entire movie trying to return it. Great background tension. Yeah, there are quite cool ways to get tension, right? Yeah. And also rising stakes. So like as you go further and further into the story, like it gets more and more, right? So like for instance, you know, in Cinderella, right? The stepmother says you can't go to the ball, right? So like the tension goes up, right? Now she's like, but I want to, right? I dressed up nicely, right? And then so they like, oh, you can't go, and then oh man, the tension, like the moment they leave the house, and then she starts crying, right? Oh, I can't go, and then it goes down, right? Fairy godmother appears like, oh, okay, I can get you there. Here's the catch: got to be home by midnight, and you start to realize, oh, something is gonna go wrong, isn't it? It's not gonna end happily for her. And you're just like, sure, right? But then, like, she goes there, the prince falls in love with her, the sisters are jealous. Wow, this is fine, right? We have no problem with this. We start to forget the warning, right? Just like, just as Cinderella is starting to have fun, we're just like, okay, maybe things will go fine. They dance together, the soft music is playing. Suddenly the clock strikes 12, and you're like, oh, shit, I knew that was gonna happen, right? And so she rushes home, and then she goes back, and then goes back to her own life. Right, Prince finds out you might get the slipper, and then it's basically like there's a push and pull, right? It's not like within the scene, like we just do and then it's over, right? We're looking at it on like a plot level, like on a macro level, right? And we are looking at the entire picture as a whole, and we are seeing there's like a push in the tension, and then like eases off a bit. But like the further and further you get on, right? Like by the time, imagine if she didn't try the slipper on, right? The stakes are already so high. Why? Because she has gone to be with the prince. The prince has fallen in love. Like it's so close yet so far. And imagine if she got locked in the room and she couldn't come out to try on the slipper. That would be horrible. The prince is just gonna move on. Like she's gonna be living the rest of her life like with the stepmother, right? um yeah, whereas at the start, if you don't see the prince, sure, you don't even know if he's gonna pay attention to you, fall in love with you. We don't know. So the stakes are lower here. The further in we get, right, you are too invested to let go, and so you're just like, oh, I need to know the ending, right? And then finally everything concludes with the slipper fit, they're gonna marry, and then live happily ever after. Okay, I see a question. Is tension a better description for when we know something bad will happen but we don't know what, or we're not sure if something bad will happen? Yeah, tension could be different kinds of tension, right? Like it's basically whatever makes the reader feel worry, anxiety, fear, stress, right? They need to feel worried. They need to feel like what you say, right? Something bad will happen. It's okay if you like you don't, it doesn't matter if you know or you don't know, right? Like for instance, in a horror movie, right, the main character could be walking, and when as the viewer, we are watching from behind, and then we are seeing like the ex-murderer creeping up behind them, right? Just like there's tension as well, right? Because you're just like, no, come on, like surely you'll notice by now, you stupid protagonist. Right? Because it does create worry, right? And you can't put the book down because you're just like, oh, do something, right? Like tension is interesting because there's this whole idea of like hooking the reader to pull them through the next page. Does that make sense? Yeah. Tension can still definitely happen in the same genre like mystery before knowing who the murderer is and after knowing who the murderer is. Yeah, usually there's like a you're the murderer, and it's like, well, even if I were, you can't catch me, and then he starts running out, and then there's like a whole chase scene, right? So that one I would classify like the chase scene under scene level, right? But the whole plot itself, like the whole rising stakes, that's like that's plot level tension, right? And then like within the scene is like, it's just a chase scene, then I will just put it as scene level. So the reason why I differentiate this, right? Scene level tension can be something like in a scene. Sometimes you feel it's moving too slowly, right? You feel like nothing is happening, right? Scene level tension is what makes the scene spicy, right? Because imagine this, right? Someone's in the living room, and then we go like, okay, let's say like Bob and Alice, right? So Alice is going out. Bob's like, oh, where are you going? And Alice is like, oh yeah, I'm just going out super shop, like, shopping. And then it's like, okay, sure, right? Don't forget to buy milk and eggs. Like, okay. And then she leaves, right? Okay, yeah, that's okay, right? That's an okay scene. Nothing's happening. There's just a progression of the story, and it's boring, right? How do we throw in tension, right? Maybe they had a fight the night before, right? And so now it's just like, where are you going? It's like going shopping. Why do you care? Like, what's it to you? Since when do you since when do you ask? Since when do you even care if I'm out of the house? Right? It's like okay, I mean I just asked. Yeah, like sure, whatever. Then where you going? Oh, to the shopping mall with some friends. Could you like go get the milk and eggs? Oh, so you're commanding me now, aren't you? Because you, like Mr. King of the house, needs to be like in front of the television to see the latest news. Oh wait, you are just watching drama and more football. Sure, like oh man, you see that's the kind of like relational conflict. Right? They just baring fangs at each other, right? But what happens if they're not um they're not like enemies, right? So in this case they're kind of like at conflict with each other, right? Can we do something else other than conflict, right? You could have two friends and then they just like maybe one person is like maybe a bit less knowledgeable about okay, so maybe let me think. Um like Sherlock and Watson, I guess, like there's the interaction, right? One person doesn't know, person like Sherlock knows all the information, Watson is just like huh. So like that kind of there's tension too, right? Because now Sherlock knows the information and Watson is trying to understand, so it's just like, but why would he murder this the lady in broad daylight? Like, well, elementary, dear Watson, surely, like, we know this murderer has been, like, doing this for years. He would not be this inexperienced, right? So, if he's gonna do something so crude, maybe there's a bigger picture that we're not seeing. Bigger picture? But, like, like, isn't this, like, bad enough? But what if this was just a distraction from his true goal and purpose? It's like, oh man, and then you see that kind of thing leads you on, right? Because now that like we're going under missing information, right? Missing information is making us want to read more. Yeah, I wonder how non-confrontational tension. Yeah, no, okay. I mean, like for instance, you see like Watson and Sherlock, right? That is tension, right? We're using missing information, right? You can also like two friends could be it doesn't have to be conflict. They could just be discussing where they want to go for lunch. Like oh we should go to like Subway, and someone else is like oh we should go to like it's always Subway. Can we go somewhere else instead? Like it's like why? Like oh it's always what you want. Fine. Right. Okay, let's see. With husband and wife scenario, they could be talking about what they need at the store, but as they're doing it, her phone keeps ringing over and over again with increasing frequency because she's going shopping with a friend who's off scene. Yeah, it could be. It's just like, or like maybe like the guy, he doesn't voice it out, but he could be like suspicious. Maybe he's just like, I went through your text, right? Maybe he doesn't bring it up, right? But he knows that she's actually cheating on him, right? Suddenly, there's tension, right? I think it's good to look back on some of the scenes that sometimes in stories where you feel like nothing's happening, right? And you're just going through the motion, right? If it feels too slow paced, feel free to throw in tension. Um, that's kind of what happens again if you let's reference Harry Potter, right? Like majority of the time, right? you just see Harry Potter in class. He's in potions, he's in transfiguration, he's in like defense against dark arts. We don't care, right? It's boring. It's cool, right? So how does J.K. Rowling work around that, right? There's two different ways. One is she glosses over it, right? Where she just goes, oh, Transfiguration was boring, but at least like Harry could answer some questions, bracket 10 points to Gryffindor, but then he had to rush for potions afterwards. Snape, as usual, was being very whatever, and so Harry was glad when it was finally over, right? So she just glosses over it, right? Don't spend too much time. Why, if it's gonna be a boring potions lesson, don't make the reader sit through that, right? What's the other way? She uses it to create, she puts tension, right? Like Trelawney is just like, oh, let's look at your tea. And then the tea leaves start to smell, oh, it's an omen, it's the dog. Like, I forgot what the dog, there's a name for it. And like, oh, this is bad, it's an omen, it's an omen. And it's just like, you know, you're just like, okay, yeah, oh yeah, it's a grim, oh, it's a grim. Right, she uses it to progress the story. Or like, it's the confrontations with Professor Snape, where Professor Snape is just like, where did you get that book? Right? Like Snape's being an idiot as well, just being like such a malicious person. Sometimes even if it's like a nice teacher, right? There will be tension where like maybe Professor McGonagall is just like, okay, yeah, but maybe you should tell Professor Dumbledore about this. Like, you see, just like hint towards something is wrong. Like maybe you need to do something about it. Like even with nice teachers, even if like things are supposedly nice, use it to hint towards something bigger, right? Use it to paint that bigger picture story, right? And so in most, like for instance in Harry Potter, like scene level tension is whatever happens in each class, right? But like, or maybe not just in each class, but when they're going back to their rooms, or when they're going to Hogsmeade, yeah, right? And so like things can happen, right? Plot level is whatever we know, like, you know, as things start to escalate, we know like, something suspicious is happening, something suspicious is now happening at increasing tension, right? Oh no, like first Filch cat was petrified, now a student is petrified, now a friend is petrified. Suddenly the stakes go up until finally you confront the basilisk, and then we win, right? So the stakes go up. There's plot level, right? It keeps going up. Make sense? Yeah. Sorry if you're getting this. No, don't worry. I'm just rambling at this point. Is it good to reduce and relax? Okay, I will go into that later. Okay, I will not quite fully, but we will take that thought and we will revisit it. All right. So the question is, sometimes sometimes it's a good change to reduce or relax tension without resolving things. So how do we control that? All right, we will get to that. Yeah. Okay. So there's character level tension. I think I did talk a bit about it, right? So there's outer conflicts, right? Government, society, culture, people, right? Sometimes you see it not just in like, okay, for instance, the most obvious one would be dystopian, right? You have a controlling government who wants things run a certain way, right? And to most people that is not a problem, right? It makes the thing organized, right? And then it's fine. But then this character doesn't like to be controlled by rules. I want to explore the world, right? Like, I don't like, these rules are too restrictive. like like I want something, right? In certain cases, 1984, I want knowledge. I want to understand what's going on outside these walls, right? Other people could be, I want freedom. The government does not give me freedom, right? Hunger Games, right? The government is, you guys need to be sent into an arena to fight to the death, right? And other people is like, the people pushing back is, I don't want to die, right? And it doesn't even have to be like dystopian, right? Moana, right? This is about like, the introduction is like, man, right? My my tribe wants me to follow like the ways of the tribe, right? I will grow up, I will be a leader, and I will guide my people and throughout throughout like living and just doing the same old, right? But she wants to go and explore what goes beyond the horizon, right? She wants to explore what's beyond the sea, right? Beauty and the Beast, Belle starts off with like what's the thing? There must be more than this provincial life, right? Cause why? Everyone's just yeah, the baker and the librarian and they're doing their own stuff, right? But look, these books are amazing, right? These books bring me to worlds that I can't experience in this world, right? And so she's fighting society in that sense, and which is why when she finally connects with Beast is someone who understands, right? Meanwhile, Gaston, the Mr. Jock, right? He's just like, oh yeah, but I am strong and muscular. Ho ho, I have two brain cells, right? Fall in love with me because I am handsome, right? And then you have Beast, who's the opposite. He's not handsome, but he has a heart of gold, and he's like has a he's knowledgeable and like whatever, right? So there's this conflict between the characters, right? Between the culture and society that they're in, right? These kind of things can create tension. In fact, it's so nice that the story starts with that. It doesn't start with the kidnapping, because the whole point was never the kidnapping. It's not about I kidnapped, therefore I need to escape, right? You start with a problem, you solve it by the end. The problem at the start is not getting kidnapped by Beast, right? Because in fact, the kidnapping get resolved very early because you're just like, okay, actually you can just go back, it's fine, right? You can just go home, right? At first he kidnaps her was it her and then the father, and then like it's like, okay, the father can go back if you stay with me, and then like yeah, then you know what, the father is sick, you know what, you go back home, right? The problem has never been the kidnapping, right? The problem at the start is that she lives in a society, right, that doesn't conform to her views, right? And now people are like trying to pair her up with Gaston, and Gaston trying to force himself onto her, right? And she doesn't want that. She wants someone else who actually goes beyond this, right? And that's the tension of the story. That's the conflict of the story, right? Yeah, so I think it's interesting to go and look at like some of these things, right? It doesn't look like a societal slash political problem, but really like if you think about it in like what's the tension, right? The tension stems from there, right? You have internal conflicts also, so usually you see these in like sometimes it's in small portions where, oh, like, I'm presented with a bribe, should I take it? Sure, right? But you do have a lot of examples. So romance, a lot of it is like, oh, do I go with this man or no? No, right? Like, example, Hercules, right? There was this, what, I won't say I'm in love, no chance, no way, I won't say I'm in love, right? Okay, let's pull up the lyrics for that. I won't say I'm in love. Today's a very relaxing lesson, as you can tell. So basically, this lady, she's in love with Hercules, right? Okay, I don't remember the movie anymore. If there's a prize for Rotten Judgment, I guess I already won that. So basically, like, she's in love with like him, right? And then like no chance, no way, I won't say it, right? Megara. Okay, haven't watched. Okay, I don't know if I watched it actually. Maybe I watched like the animated TV series, but not like the movie. Okay, yeah, you see, like then like the other singers are like, you soon you sigh, why deny it? But it's too cliche. I won't say I'm in love, right? I thought my heart has learned its lesson. It feels so good when you start out. My head is screaming, get a grip, go. Unless you're dying to cry your heart out, right? And then the muses push back. You keep on denying who you are and how you're feeling. Baby, we're not buying. Han, we saw you hit the ceiling. Face it like a grown up. When you're gonna own up that you got it bad? But no, I won't. Right? And then at least to the end, right? She's like, okay, at least out loud, I won't say I'm in love. Right? So like you say, I won't say I'm in love. Right? It's too cliche. I won't say I'm in love. No chance, no way, I won't say I'm in love, right? This scene won't play, I won't say I'm in love. Then she goes to finally, at least out loud, I won't say I'm in love, right? And so this is like the fun part, right? There's like a push, right? There's the conflicting thought, right? Conflicting emotions that she's trying to go through, right? Um, Other places. Do you guys who here has watched Inception? Okay, anyone here hasn't watched Inception? Cause I'm like, you know, does anyone mind me spoiling the thing? Okay, if you mind me spoiling, I will just hint at the salute at the ending. Okay with spoilers. Okay, don't worry, you forget spoilers. Alright. So basically, okay, if anyone has a problem with spoilers, please like say it out or forever hold your peace. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Alright, last call. Alright. So it's about the theme of it, right? Or one of the theme that carries on through the story is Cobb's guilt. He's guilty about what he's done that led to, whatever happened to his wife, right? So like, yes, she shows up, but none of it is about her because she was long gone, right? And so towards the end, right, it's about his guilt that he holds against himself, right? And the whole time he's fighting, and that's why Mao keeps showing up again because he holds on to that guilt. That's the tension, right? And you see him revisiting the memories in a very unhealthy way, right? Just like, does the team know you are secretly going back into your memories and reliving them? Because this is unhealthy as heck, right? But he does it anyway, so yeah, right? But towards the end, you see him start to resolve it, right? He finally takes action against her, right? And then it's just like, you're not the person that's small, right? You're not her, right? You're just my flat idea of who I can remember, right? And then like, as she's dying again, right? It's just like it climaxes, right? And it's just like, you said we'll grow old together, right? And then he says, but we did. And then like, oh, see, that's him letting go of the conflict that has been building up, right? In fact, they showcase this in the beginning, right? Even in the first action scene, right, where they are trying to break in to steal the secrets, already Mao is showing up, right? And so Mao keeps showing up again and again and again and again to foil their plans, right? Until finally, you know, he confronts, right? And then he says, like, we did grow old together, right? Like, whatever the real Mao did, right? I can move on, right? This is not me, right? And so that's very powerful. Like, I was like, oh no, I was crying. It's such a good scene, dude. Agree, disagree? Everyone's just like, yeah, but it wasn't that touching decro. It's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, but do you guys know what I mean? Yeah, that's basically internal conflict, right? You can bring out like guilt, past history, right? You can bring out personal limitations or fears that they don't dare to confront until one day they have to, right? Like, sure, it might, like, the confrontation could be external, right? But it could also be an internal thing, and a lot of the internal things can actually feel more powerful, right? Fighting the government cool, but like when it's your own personal thing, like your own personal struggle, that is so relatable. So I have a soft spot for internal conflict. Those are so good. Okay, any questions before we move on? Yeah, you got a lot more depth out of that than you're able to interpret. Okay, but do you agree with it? I mean, you can be like, okay, you could disagree. I'm okay with that, right? This is my take on it. I loved it so much. But it's okay if you guys don't don't relate. Trying to process, need to rewatch. Sure. You agree the take. Hey, that's an established interpretation. Very good. Yeah. Oh man, it was so well written. Alright. But any questions before we move on? Okay, no questions. Alright. So we move on to narrative level tension. Narrative level tension. Okay, so the other tensions are good to have throughout your story. You usually if a story has no tension, right? Like forget it. I feel like if you can, every scene should be peppered with tension. Not all to the same intensity, mind you. I'll go into that. But if you don't have tension pulling you through the story, right, then it's not as engaging. Like the idea is don't give the reader like time to put it down, right? You know, sometimes people just like, okay, I'm just gonna finish this chapter and then I'm gonna put it down, right? So one of the strategies that authors use is that the chapter the chapter breaks are when you cannot put it down. Why? Right? They will bring you to a chapter, they will cliffhanger at the end of the chapter and continue the chapter next, right? So you're like, oh, you're just like, okay, we finally got out of the chase scene and then we're going back home, and then you open the door and the person you don't want to see is there. Hello, I've been waiting for you. Boom, the chapter ends, right? And then you're just like, ah, shit, I need to read the next chapter now, right? And you go into the next chapter and you're just like, okay, yeah, let's continue. One more chapter before I hit the bed. Right, 20 chapters later, you finish the book and it's 5 a.m. in the morning. Right, has that happened to you guys? Like a familiar experience, right? I don't read books enough. Yeah. So basically, it's a trick. You're reading the courage to be this, like it made you feel that way. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's a strategy, alright. You have a hard time putting the book down and it happens. You see, that's all part of it. Because I think people are very tempted to like, especially if you're new to this, you just be like, okay, scene 1 and scene 2 goes into chapter 1. Scene 3, scene 4 will go into chapter 2. 5, 6, 7 goes into chapter 3, right? And then you're just like, okay, cool, right? The trick is to don't split the scenes up, because the scene is where the scene level tension ends. And so you chop it in the middle of the scene, split it into 2 different chapters, and now you can't put it down. Last time I saw Mother was one of those books because they dropped this major info at the end of the chapter. Yes, that's the goal. They use tension to keep you reading, and they do it so well, right? Because one more chapter, right? Okay. So those other tensions I recommend. I think you should make that part and parcel. It should be a staple of your book so you cannot put it down. Right. Narrative level tension is more specific. It really depends on what kind of book you are writing, what kind of genre you are writing, what kind of, remember the first, second, third person? That matters too. So if this is not for all kinds of stories, I would say. So so the narrator is whoever presents the story to the reader, right? Sometimes it could be third person, like the narrator is just saying this is what happens. He did this, she did that, he said this, he thinks that, right? And so that one, okay, fine, we get the information, right? But what if the narrator themselves causes tension as well, right? And so the narrator could be like, I did this, I did that. And then you could lie to the reader, like, oh, yeah, this person did this because this person was malicious, right? Because she doesn't like me and she's gonna say all sorts of crazy things about me, but you do not believe her at all because she doesn't know anything, right? So you give missing information where the reader doesn't know everything. Okay, so what I'm talking about is unreliable narrator, where the narrator does not um know something, right? narrative level could also be missing information where the reader does not know everything, right? Sometimes they play this game where the characters are talking about something. So this is very specific. You don't get that in like a lot of like books or movies. But sometimes the characters, they know things, right? But they're not telling you, right? They don't tell the reader, and now the reader is just like, what do the characters know, right? Have you guys like encountered that in books? Like nothing comes to mind at the moment, but that's kind of I remember seeing this in some books before. Same book. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So those are good ways to create tension as well, especially when you have like a narrator. Emperor's New Groove. Oh yes. Okay. Emperor's New Groove. There's a what's the intro in opening monologue. Okay, yeah. I actually put that in to the thing into one of my lessons before, but yeah, like, will you take a look at that? Pretty pathetic, huh? Okay, you know what? I will put a YouTube video on, but I won't play the audio. If I play the audio, if I play the audio, you guys will hang on. Emperor's New Groove, but is yeah. If I play the audio, it'll probably get copy strike. So yeah. So it goes out with him. It comes out with him there, and then he goes like, "Well, take a look at that. Pretty pathetic, huh? Well, you'll never believe this, but that llama you're looking at was once a human being, and not just any human being. That guy was an emperor, a rich, powerful ball of charisma. Oh yeah, this is his story. Well, actually, my story. That's right. I'm that llama. The name is Cusco, Emperor Cusco. I was the world's nicest guy, and they ruined my life for no reason. They ruined my life for absolutely no reason. Right. And we're just like, got it. In Ratatouille, Remy, this is me. Okay, that one he's being an honest narrator. Whatever he tells you is just he's just the storyteller, right? And um usually these kind of stories they will so when it's like, oh, let me tell you my story, it actually takes out a lot of the tension. Uh which is fine, right? Okay, I'll explain why in a bit. So in Ratatouille, it's just like, here's how the restaurant came to be, or here's my story about how I became like the red chef, right? Titanic, right? You are seeing the events of the entire movie through the perspective of a 80-year-old survivor, right? So that it takes out the tension because now you know she's going to survive. Right now, you know that even though the ship is sinking and she's in the ice cold water, you know that she won't die, because you already know that she's now narrating the story, right? So why would you want to get rid of the tension, right? Firstly, I think the main reason is because it doesn't that kind of tension will not fit with the genre of the movie, right? Because Titanic is romance, right? It's not a survival action, right? So you should not be scared about whether or not the characters die, or at least they want to reduce that tension, right? So you can focus, like your main source of unease should be, will they stay together, not will they die, right? Because those are two different genres, right? And so in the same way, Ratatouille is not a story about survival. It's not a story of will he succeed. It's a story of like the journey there and like the friendships forged, right? Does he still keep that relationship? Oh, so the Ratatouille is another example of like fighting with society, right? Because Wait, Remy is the rat, right? So Remy, what's the guy's name? Fucking Linguini, right? Got it. Sorry for swearing. Sorry, the names are very funny. Remy is like the story of Remy is not one about like sure it's a success story, but part of the underlying theme, the tension, is him and his family, right? Because his family is just like rats. We are rats. We eat what we get. We don't care about flavor. If we survive, we survive, right? But for Remy, the tension, right? There's the we're talking about like the character level tension, right? He has conflict with his family, right? The outer conflict with society, right? Because he wants to show them the flavor, right? There's more to life than just eating. You know, it's about eating good as well. And so he's trying to fight that, right? And then now he has a relationship with Linguini. Linguini has a relationship with the girl, and now his relationship with Linguini will jeopardize the relationship with the girl as well. And so now there's fight. There's like it's not they're not fighting explicitly, but there's tension, right? Will they get together, right? Or will Linguini say, you know what, you caused enough problems for me, just go, right? And that's what actually happens, right? There's tension, there's breakups, right? These are the tensions that they want you to focus on, not whether or not he succeeds, because succeeding as the chef is not the point of the story. The point of the story is how can he chase his love for food while maintaining the relationship with his family. And in fact, you do see that, right? Because in the end, he not just like succeeds, he actually gets his entire family to help run the restaurant, right? And then the guy breaks it, it's just like the whole place is red. Hilarious, right? There's internal conflict about Remy for stealing food. Yeah, that too, right? And then there's like the relationships between the Linguini and the girl, and Linguini and the thing, and then there's also the food critic, and there's all these relationships get wrapped up and resolved by the end, right? So there's a lot of tension that goes on throughout the story. You notice that the ones I'm listing down, it's not like they pick one source of tension and then that's your story, right? There's interleaving tension, that like recurring theme. Some of it comes and goes, right? Some of it is just like, oh no, will Remy convince Linguini to let him cook? And then it turns out, yeah, he will. And then they figure out the thing with the chef's hat, like hiding in the hair and pulling the hair. All right, we're done. Right, that's the scene level tension. But the whole plot level tension is about like the relationships, right? It's about the the connection with family, connection with loved ones, right? The romantic tension. All these are tensions that come in and out, and we're just like pulled along throughout the entire plot, right? Okay. Uh, that must be How I Met Your Mother. That one I didn't watch. Sorry. Even if Titanic was told in order, people might have some guesses about there being an iceberg in the future. Well, I guess, yeah, but like again, it's not the point is not survival. The point is to tell you everything. Reminds me of the entire story of Halo Reach. If you play Halo before, you know the humans lose the fight, so it's the tension about how they lose. So it's like you like the story a couple of moments where it make you think they actually do win, and then plot twists happen. Yeah, so good. Yeah, but why narrative level tension? It doesn't fit into the others, right? Cause again, unreliable narrators, right? So if you watch any of these movies, Sixth Sense, Fight Club, Black Swan, that's the power of unreliable narrators. I won't go into what it is, but basically, if you have reason to doubt what's happening is actually real, right? There's tension. In these stories, Shutter Island as well. Shutter Island, I didn't list it down. But basically, in these movies, you are starting to question that what you are presented to by the main character. In fact, they don't even tell you that the main character is narrating. You are just following the character. And then you start to like, wait, whatever's on camera right now is not syncing up with what the characters are actually meaning to do or saying. Something is wrong, right? There's no way a mirror does that. So, something is wrong, right? That's the power of an unreliable narrator. Okay, any questions so far? Catcher in the Rye, White Tiger as unreliable narrator. Yeah, those are so good. Yeah. Missing information, again, the same thing with like murder mysteries, right? They don't tell you something and therefore you are feeling tension, or like, yeah, so it's kind of like the opposite where the reader knows something that characters don't, right? Like in horror movies, you're like, oh, the guy is behind you, look, turn around, right? That's missing information to the character. But you can have it the other way around. Again, the reader does not know everything. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Okay, don't overdo tension, right? So let's take it like example, right? Horror games. Horror games is a huge push and pull, right? You can make it scary. You can make the character chase scene after chase scene after chase scene. You get chased by one monster, you escape, and then another monster attacks you, and then you have to fight, and then suddenly there's a big one chasing you again, right? But that's not how horror games work, right? Cause why? Right? If it's too intense at all the time, you either get desensitized to it, or you get like fatigue. Right? You get like this. Oh, this is just so tiring. When do I catch a breather? Right? Right? Or you scare the player off entirely, and they're just like, okay, too scary for me. Too scary for me. I give up. They exit the game. Right? So there's kind of like a push and pull. They let you in with like tiny jump scares, and then it's all quiet again. And then suddenly there's a huge chase scene, and suddenly you escape. The door slams behind, and then they are in a new zone, right? And then now they can start to explore the new zone again before the horror start once more, right? There's a lot of push and pull, right? And this is kind of like the same thing with tension, right? In your story, if there's always fighting and whatever happening nonstop, like it gets old, right? You get desensitized, right? So you push and pull, ease them into some tension, let go, right? It doesn't mean there's no more tension, everything gets resolved. You just let go of it enough, right? Like for instance, in the horror game, right? The jump scares are over, but that doesn't mean the problem is solved. It doesn't mean you have escaped, right? It just means you have a moment of quiet for just some time, right? Again, like let's go back to the earlier example. Come on, let's get up. Right, the Cinderella, right? It's not non-stop. She's running. She needs to do this. She needs to go into a fist fight with the stepmother, and then start fist fighting the prince as well, and then fist fight the glass slipper. Like no, all right. There's a push and pull, up and down, right? Because you need to get like breaks in between. And you notice as the tension keeps rising, it doesn't mean you resolve, you go lower than before. No, in fact, you resolve just a bit. Give them just a little bit of breathing space, but you know you are getting closer and closer to the end. Right? You're getting closer and closer towards the final confrontation. Right? Just like in your horror games. Alma, you wanna see Cinderella fist fighting a la Street Fighter? Now you wanna see Cinderella go John Wick. Okay, even in John Wick, there are moments of break. There are moments where you revisit, like where like John Wick has to go talk to like the I don't know, the guy is like, oh yeah, whatever you did was unacceptable. It's like, oh, then I will have to fight it. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. And then just like fist fight. Right. But you have breaks in between where you slow down, and then catch you up on the law and stuff like that, right? It doesn't mean the tension is gone, right? Maybe the action tension is gone, right? But there's still the rising tension of having to eventually fight for his freedom, right? Right. And so there's like freedom, like there's different types of tension. There's like the action tension. There's like the question of does he earn his right to get his life back, right? So that's like across the entire thing. So even when one goes down, right, like you take the movie goes into another source of tension, right? Everything is tension. Even those quiet discussion, tension, right? But it's a push and pull. You don't overdo it. Yeah, so that's I hope that kind of answers your question. Was it, yeah, check, asked it earlier. Is it good change to reduce or relax tension without resolving things? That's basically your horror movies, right? Right. That's basically John Wick. That's basically a lot of movies, right? Like let's, like, again, Inception, right? You know, Ariane catches Cobb like using memories as an unhealthy way to cope. That's tension. You're just like, why are you sneaking into his dreams? And then he realizes and he confronts her about it and she confronts back. That is tension, right? So there's action and then there's that and there's tension, right? Even in like they go into the dream, they have they have to, there's a chase scene. After going to the chase scene, they start to realize, right? And then they go into a warehouse and they are safe. But then they start to fight about why the train is there and why Cop screwed it all up, right? And then they start to realize they are stuck in a dream. So it's no longer action tension, right? But it's about relationship tension, or like we could be stuck here tension, right? Or Cop might betray us tension, right? These are different kinds of tension that push and pull and weave throughout, right? So you can resolve some things. You can let the readers, let the viewers let go, right? Just a bit, but then you throw them into like the depths of something else, right? Just keep using tension to pull your reader through, and that's how you get movies, books, comics that can't, you can't put it down, right? It's a page turner, because you just need to see what happens next, right? It's the tension, all right? But don't overdo it. All right, that should be our last section. Any questions? Questions? Okay, I guess no questions. Okay, you guys are good. All right, that's good. Usually questions means that like you guys might not, maybe don't understand. So if either I'm hoping it's not because no one's engaged, but I'm hoping it's because like this this lecture was informative and complete enough that there's no questions. But it's okay. If you guys have questions, just feel free to tag me in the Discord. I will reply. So, take home exercise, alright? We will be creating tension. So, we talked about like 4 different kinds of tension, right? But we're only gonna do 3 because the narrative level is very specific. It's not meant for all the stories, and I don't want to put you guys through like, how do I write unreliable narrator? Because that is not easy. Okay. But for the first exercise, so there's 3 small exercises. Convey tension through a scene, convey tension through a character's internal thoughts, and then the last one is just, you don't have to write a story. It's more of a outlining. Okay, so let me show. Yeah, so at the start is come out with a high tension scene where you focus on external tension. It could be conflict, it could be trying to survive a storm, it could be a chase scene, up to you, right? Just make me feel tension. Make me feel like I cannot put the book down until it's over, right? Character level tension. So high tension scene, but this time you focus on internal tension. Could be internal conflict, personal struggles. It doesn't have to be fully internal, right? It could, some of these factors could be external, right? Like someone offers you a bribe, that's kind of external, right? But the true conflict, the main source of the tension is seeing how the character decides, right? If someone says, I'll like pay me $50, I'll pay you $50 to let you in, right? Yeah, I'll pay you $50 if you let me in, right? And then the bouncer's just like, sure, right? There's no tension. He just goes in, sure, right? But then the tension could be like he starts to struggle, and he's like, no, I can't do that. It's like, are you sure? I know you need the money. I know your addiction. All right, let's make it 100. And it's like, okay, yeah. See, so that's internal tension, right? So let's try to get some of that in practice too. For the last one, plot level. So this is something on the macro level where we are talking about like the entire story. So you don't have to write a story, just point form and outline a story and make me get a sense of why the story's stakes keeps going up and why like by the end, I cannot put it down until the end where everything gets resolved. Right. Okay. Any questions? How do you guys feel about this exercise? Excited? Good? Not good? Sounds fun? Okay, that's good. If you guys like, I'm excited to write this, then it's good. Bit excited. Wow, people are actually excited. Okay, yay. I think it's a personal achievement if I present people with homework and they say, wow, I can't wait to do it. A little nervous, you feel like you're bad at coming out with tension. That's okay, you see? So this is the tension part of facing your fears. Right? I mean the whole point is you are not good at it, right? And therefore you practice and then you get good at it. In fact, you saying you are good at it means you don't need to do this exercise. It means this is meaningless. Right? You saying you are nervous means you are going to learn something. So that's good. Right? I tell people like who say like, oh, I don't write because I'm bad at writing. It's the other way around, right? You are bad at writing because you don't write. You don't practice, right? It's not you don't write. Yeah, they got the order reversed, right? And so how do you get good, right? It means you practice. If you feel nervous, that's okay. It's part of the learning process, right? When people try something new for the first time, they're gonna feel dumb. They're gonna feel like they don't know what's going on. They're gonna feel like unknowledgeable. They're gonna feel embarrassed when they screw things up. They're gonna draw something on paper like learning art. They're gonna draw something and ask themselves, why is it not as good as whatever people out there are doing? And that's okay. That's a normal part of learning, right? So it's okay, right? That like don't fight it, right? You being nervous means that there is something to learn. So we turn that nervousness into excitement, right? Now you have the opportunity to get over that nervousness, to reach greater heights. You have a plan. Yes, that's good. Panic. Oh no. You wanna learn to get better at rising to an emotional point since writing and speaking feels flat without it. Alright, that's good. So if you feel something is new, so you could easily write what you're familiar with. Maybe you're used to doing action scenes, right? And then you're just like, okay, I'll just throw in an action scene, right? Instead of doing that, turn it around. Why don't you try exploring mystery, like murder mystery, and now we got to find out, right? Now we're pointing fingers and accusing each other, right? Try something new, explore, broaden your horizons, right? Get get better at exploring different types, right? If you want to write more, you want to try every single genre of tension, feel free. I'll invite you guys to do that as well if time permits. Yeah. Yeah, I did remember telling you after the first few lessons, it will start to ramp up. We are done with the basics and things will start to get more and more interesting. So it's good that you guys are feeling it. Yeah. Okay, any more questions? Would you say the tension of the class is rising? Ah, yes. You start to confront more and more fears where like first, second, third person no long is like the basics long forgotten. Man, I wonder what the boss fight is. The boss fight will be the final assignment. You guys will like it. Alright. Okay, if nothing else, let's end it here. Hits up next week. I am kind of celebrating like my proposal slash wedding marriage thingy with my partner. With some friends. I'm keeping it small. So I won't be teaching class. So we will push the following lesson to 2 weeks from now. Use that time to try to stick to one homework a week so that you can treat the extra week as time to catch up on your previous homework if you need to. No stress, no pressure, guys. Happy anniversary. Yeah, it's not quite an anniversary. I proposed to him at the start of this year, like 2nd January. So we haven't got the time to do like a ceremony and hang out. So we are gonna indulge ourselves. It's been a flurry of things. Like we both lost our jobs in like March. And I had a convention to organize, like a local furry convention to organize in June. And then I started my new job like end June, start of July. So there's been a lot of things happening, and on top of that, I'm still like, what if I subjected myself to teaching a 12 course writing workshop? So why the heck not? So like I've been spending time to plan this like celebration also. So it's nice to like take a break and you know unwind. I have so many commitments. Anniversary of a momentous occasion. Yes. Flurry of things. No. Yeah. Alright. You guys go have fun. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. I hope this lesson was informative. If nothing else, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time. Alright. Have a good time, you guys. Bye bye.